Hey people, back in the mid-80s there was a crew of sailors in Southampton doing what we do best. And old Limey come in the bar and he tells my buddy, a bitter for a fag. In about 2 seconds the bar room looked like this. And this went on for 8-10 minutes. And his buddy says all he wanted was a smoke. He's going to trade a beer for a smoke. I says, why do you call it a fag? He says, 'cause you suck it. And so it went on again for another 10 minutes after that. And that's what we do best. So the Brits call their beer by name. You got your bitters and your lagers and your reds and your greens. And everybody in Europe loves American tobacco. Their tobacco sucks over there. So the world's got a little communication problem, and the powers that be use this communication problem, and they dog us out. And so in this video, I'm gonna teach y'all a little bit about how to navigate around the world with household items, things you already have. Just 3 things, and you can navigate anywhere in the world. I'm going to show you where I got this information out of Genesis, the first knowledge for the kings. And I'm going to prove to you that it was written in Egypt. And I'm going to show you where this flat earth and what it's all about in the Bible. And if I'm feeling a little moody after that, I'm going to dog out a certain YouTube evangelist that's spreading lies and fear-mongering. So some of y'all might think I'm the devil, but I want y'all to know that I study all these ancient writings harder than any man that'll ever tell you the truth. So I was studying this word Kodesh, and I think it means codes, from where I find it at, and it's said to mean holy. It's often called the holy places. And I run across this word Druze here, and it's only used one time in this form, but I always check out all the other spellings. You can see it's used 164 times, and it's got many different spellings, and I'm pretty sure that's where our word draws come from, drawing. And they're talking about the city plans, the draws, the cities, the OIR, to see the work first, to see the work to begin. So I've seen this in other places, and it's usually by the word sewer. If you were going to draw up a city, the first thing you do would be to put a sewer system in before you put the roads down. Would be the smart thing. And that's the way they used to do it. Nowadays they go back and dig the road back up. So they give this draws the meaning sawed out, and they say it's 164 times, and it's 70 different words that they give that meaning. So I went looking for the first time cities used, and it's here, Genesis 4:17. The story is that Cain built a city and called it after his son Enoch, which is said to be a different Enoch than the one that walked with God, but it's actually the same one. So I pulled some of this older script off and put it beside the new one so you could see what it looks like, because it has a meaning. And you see that triangle and that circle on the top. That's the D, the triangle. And the circle is the I. And that's going to have a meaning later, you'll see. But what it says is to make through, to see. And then Cain was the farmer, to come after, to make seed. And then that AT with the hash mark, the little hash mark means of. And then AT is the knowledge of the writings, knowledge of the seals. Learn the writings. It's in the Bible over 12,000 times, and they omit it. It's in front of all the names of the people and the places, all the proper names, and it's actually telling you to read the book or the writings of. There might be this ash too, might be writings on the wall it's talking about. So it's saying to make through to see, to come after, to make seed, learn the writings of, the knowledge to consume, the seals connected, and seal the first connected writings to bind through. And then it's learn the writings of Enoch. And that Enoch, that's spelt with the H. It's usually a CH, a Chinook, but it means to divide. And then it's the NU, and this the new fold, to divide the new fold, or sometimes that's the cycles connected. And when you connect the cycle all the way around, it's the new year. It's you make complete circle. So to divide the new fold, and to make the work in the seed life, to make to see make first, and make the second, to learn, to consume from the hour of the city, to fold the spirit, that's the fire waters or spirits. Sometimes fire water is name, sometimes it's there, and sometimes it's Shem. It's all the same word. We're going to go with fold the spirit this time. To fold the spirit in the cycles connected, to divide the circles fold. And so I went searching for this city of Enoch. So I googled city map of Enoch, son of Cain, and I come up with several circle cities. It was said to be the first city, and so was Atlantis, was said to be the first city, and it was a circle. But a couple different patterns here. You see one called the divided lamb I put there, and then this other is a quid down on the bottom, and that one I put Mobile on there. It looks just like the mouth of the Mobile Bay where the river comes in. So I learned about this divided lamb in some writings of Egypt, and it's said to be a Jewish thing now. And you divide a lamb, I think you give half to the poor and a quarter to your friends and a quarter for yourself, or maybe it's a little different. But what you're actually looking at is a calendar, and that was the seasons down in Egypt. And they had half of the year was the summer season. They only had 3 seasons down there. They didn't have the 4 seasons. It's about the same. I'm on the same parallel 30th down here in South Mississippi, and we really only get 3 seasons down here. We don't get the 4th. So the one I labeled quid, it was split in 4, and that's a word that's been changed. A quid was a $quarter. If an Englishman has got 4 front teeth sticking out, like Jerry Lewis in that flick, that would be called a quid. It's a horse's mouth disease, a quid. And the word's been changed to mean question, how, why. But it was the only time it was ever questioned, it was where. And if Lieutenant was asking the general, he said quid, it was a question as in where's my quarters. It meant the quarters of the sky. Or where am I staying? Where's my living quarters? So while I was looking for the writings of Enoch, I ran into this, and sure enough, it looked like divided circles, and Google Translator couldn't touch it. It couldn't read the first word on here. But I got it all broke down. I have to blow it up and read it, but it's got 5 different dimensions for 7 planets and for our atmosphere. So I blowed it up, and I found this clue down here that I've been searching for from day one, from the first line in the Bible. And this RX down here looks like our RX for drugs. And that's short for the Revolocao. the revolutions of the planets, revolutions of Lua, the revolutions of Mercurio. So you remember that that make through to see, that DO, or that Dalit ion, and we can see it here. And this is 450 years old from Bartholomew, and you'll see it there on the left. It says the clevum, the tool, Imperium habitat, the dwelling of the Imperium, the De et omnium electorium. And what this is saying is the dwelling place of all the angels. This is the books of Enoch that we weren't supposed to get. And then you see on the inner white circle there, the revolucondo of the D-ion, the Dalit ion, through to C, the primo, the first, the mobilum of the 24 auras. And that Google interpreter couldn't even get that auras out of there. But we could see there on the revolutions of the earth, the 365 days and 6 horas and a quarter day. And we can see there on the moon the 27 days and 8 horas, 8 hours. So we know what that means. So that in the middle says figura dos corpus celestis, and that would be the figures of 2 celestial bodies, but it's not 2 celestial bodies, it's 10 celestial bodies. It's got 10 sets of numbers there, and all this gold leafing tells me this was a book for the king. But what that says is we can see it's a book, and we're at the middle page here, and this is figure 5, the rod of first knowledge. The dose is through to see the secrets of the celestial bodies. And them 5 sets of numbers for the planets are supposed to be the dimensions, the distances of orbits and size, but the numbers aren't matching up. They're not adding up right. And I'm sure the explanation of the rest of this book, but we got enough out of that RX to break a good chunk of the code. So if you've been watching my movies, you know I've been breaking this down into the spirits and the drugs, but I always knew that there was at least 7 different meanings. It was a master alchemist that wrote this. So you can Google phonetic letter meaning chart, or you can go to New Tutora and download this and read along with me. But the main thing is this learn the writings has been left off in front of all the books. And so where this starts in the beginning is the BR. The first 2 letters is in the beginning, and they're leaving out to learn to consume the work seals. It's all in the first word, Barasit. And then Bara, in the first knowledge, in the royal knowledge. And Elohim, to learn to bind the works from, learn the writings. And that says the Shamim. And that's the fire waters to work from, the spirits to work from, the heavens. Learn the writings of the heavens and learn the writings of the art. That's the ARX. And we seen what the RX was the revolutions of the planets. Learn the writings of the spirits to work from, the angels, and learn the writings of the knowledge of the RX, the revolutions of the planets. And this is the first knowledge to learn, and the later knowledge was the knowledge of the drugs, and it's the same writings, and you just change the keys with the seals. So that Barasit, the first work seals to learn to consume would be these celestial and all the planets and stars and signs for working with astrology is the first thing to learn. That would be the secrets he's getting whispered in the ear of the king there, the secrets of the kings and the masons. That's what that star and compass is about. And that's a couple of the tools that you use for navigation, navigating by the stars. It was written in many books. I always thought it was crazy. If this girl came and sat by me in the bar and asked me my sign, I'd pick up my drink and leave. I thought it was crazy as any other religion, so I'm having to cram it now. There's many books, and in the Latin you can see they changed the X to the S. It's the ARS. It was this notorious arts of Solomon, the magical operations, judicial astrology, and most your Western law is still based on the same astrology law books used 2,500 years ago, and most Eastern is based on the same thing. And this was the Kabbalistic key for the astrology, together with a rare natural secret necessary to be learned by all persons, especially seamen, merchants, and travelers. You got to know your way around the stars. So this book of Earth, or book of the flat art, was on the wall in the tombs in Egypt, and they painted all up and on the ceilings, and it's hard to describe a star in pictures, so they made gods out of all the things moving in the heavens, and they gave them personalities and characteristics in the stories, so you can learn the stories and understand the characteristics of them. So this next line says, connect the arts, and being that they had copied them all off the wall, and it was divided when they labeled them, they put the divided there, the chet, and so that's where we get our word charts. And everything that was connected had that vav. You saw that most everything starts with vav, and then when you find what you're looking for, it'll starts with the chet, the divided arts. So that's connect the art, the work seal life. That was the work seals that we were learning from Barasit to learn the work seals. Connect the art, the work seal life, the tohu and bahu, the seal of life connected and the house of life connected. And the chesk, that's the divided fires fold. And that's the fold that tells you the single stars that aren't part of the constellations. When it's a constellation, it's part of the house. And when they're single, it gives you the name of all the stars, and that's the chesk. The stars to fold. To see the bind, to see the bind of the penny, the picture seed work. In the tomb, the picture bind in the tomb, the TEUM, the seals or the writing life to connect from. And that's what was going on in the tomb. They were schools for the king. It wasn't a burial place. It was maybe they put their grandfather in there, and everything he knew was written on the wall, and grandson would go to school in the tomb, and he told all the goy, that he was praying for them. And so you're looking at the picture seed work in the tomb, and the root, and begin to connect the divided. and figure out, because it's not written in plain English. It was coded just for the kings. You had to have the book to figure out what you were doing. Begin to connect the divided Elohim to learn the works from the March picture seal, from the first divided picture seal. And that's where we get our word March from the first. That was the beginning of the year in March. To see the bind in the picture of the waters to work from. Remember, that's the end part of the heavens. The heavens was the spirits, the fire waters to work from, and this is just telling you to see the bind in the picture seed work of the waters to work from. That means the waters above and the waters below. That would be the waters below the firmament and the waters above. And this would be the Lord to make the connected life and connect the waters above with the waters below. And the waters below where all the animals and the plants on earth all have a star named after them, to the waters above. So that's the first 2 lines of Genesis, and you can see here that it's separated because that's just the instructions to tell you how to use it. And then you'll see every line after that starts with that Vav Yod, to make, to connect the work, or and make. And it's just like an instruction manual. The first 2 lines telling you instructions on how to use the book and the keys and the seals, and now you're going to work. And you see you got 3 lines, and then you'll have that picture seal that goes with each one that's missing. So it took me 20 minutes to explain the first 2 lines here, because we've been lied to for so long. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit. But this number 3 starts the first instructions. And what it says is to make the knowledge from to begin, to learn the bind the life works from, make the work of the or. That's that last word with on 3 with the red line, the A-U-R, the or of Ra, and make the work of the or. And so it's telling you here this to start. This is the first thing you do. You make the or of Ra, and you can see that on Indiana Jones, the staff of Ra. That's what they're talking about right here. And if you look at that head on the staff, it was on one of the pictures earlier, it's real accurate. In fact, it reads just like the Bible does, and they give it the same false reading. And then it says here, number 4, it says to make the first knowledge, to learn to bind the works from, learn the writings of the or. And then in that red box there that says the key of thub and make bottle. And that thub was the North Star 6,000 years ago. That was the North Star that the Egyptians were looking at. And it sat at, if you were in Egypt, it sat at 30 degrees in the sky. And that, to make bottle, that means 30 degrees. So that tells me that this wasn't written by the Israelites up in Israel, because they were sitting up there at 33 degrees. That would be your Masons recopying it to fit their 33 degrees. But this was written at 30 degrees. The same place I'm sitting here, on the bottom of the Mississippi River, from the bottom of the Nile River, same place on the other side of the world at 30 degrees. 6,000 years ago, we were both looking at Thub at 30 degrees in the north spot. You can look over there at that L. You see it's given a rank of 30. It's the shepherd's staff, to direct, to bind, to teach. That's the star to direct you through the desert. And you remember that that D was that triangle. So this gives me a clue that every time I see that BD, it'll be giving me an ascension number after. So in Genesis 2 and in Numbers 11, the Badilla is given the meaning of a precious stone, and Rashi interprets it as the precious stone, the crystal, and Sadiah says it's the pearls, and that's the precious stone in the sky to keep the sailors and the shepherds from getting lost at night. If you look down there at the bottom, you see in the writings of Pliny, which was really the name of the book. It was written by Maria the Jewess, or Maria the Hag. And anyway, in this book of Pliny, it says the price of bdellium when pure was 3 denarii a pound. So this denarii was a money, and the meaning was containing 10, and it was worth 10 asses, or 10 ascension. So this bdellium was worth 3 denarii, or 30 asses, and that would be 30 ascension, and that's where that North Star is sitting, still today. So due to precession of equinox, this Thuban, or the Thub seed, in 3000 BC was sitting right there where our Polaris is sitting today. And depending on where you are is where you're going to find it. So that sums up this Bible lesson, and now we're going to get an astrology lesson, and we're going to learn the first knowledge from the Bible. So if you don't know how to find the great crystal pearl in the sky, this is the easy way to do it. Get up early in the morning, about 5 o'clock, before the sun comes up, and put your right shoulder toward where the sun's coming up, and set you a time-lapse camera up, and put it on a stand, and just let it take its pictures. And then by the time before the sun comes up, come back and take one snapshot, and you can hold it beside, and you're going to see all these concentric circles, look like a big tube, and there's going to be a little dot in the middle, and that's going to be your North Star sitting there. That's going to be Polaris, if you're in the North Hemisphere. If you're in the south of the equator, you're not going to see it, but you ought to be able to look to the south, and you'll see the same thing. You just won't see a point in the middle of it, because there's no South Star. There's a couple of them pretty close by, and you can, when you find them, you can shoot between them, and you can still navigate by those. So if you're out there in the middle of the Pacific in a boat and you're traveling south, you look behind you, set your camera up, you're going to see that to the north. When you get right on the equator, you're going to see that North Star is right there at the water line. It's at 0, because you're at 0. You're at the equator. And if you look south, you're going to see the same thing, except they're going to be turning in different directions. In the south, it's going to be turning clockwise. In the north, it's turning counterclockwise. And this simple fact breaks any flat earth theory I ever heard. They can't cover this, and you don't have to go to the equator. All you have to do, there's plenty of flat earthers down in Australia, and all you got to do is call one of them and ask them to set a camera up and tell you what he sees. Or you get on YouTube here, and you can find many people have already done this. This is where I found these pictures. So I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not trying to divide us. I'm trying to unite us so we can fix our problem. And don't feel like you're a traitor. I got many very famous flat earthers follow my channel. All I want to do is get us together, get us on the same page. I know NASA's lies to us, but the Earth spinning and being a ball is not what they're lying to us about. If I was the creator God, I think it'd be a lot easier to set the Earth spinning than it would be to make everything else revolve around it. And all the planets, being that they're revolving around the sun, they're all making little sixes all through the sky. The closer to the sun, or the smaller the little sixes they're making, compared to their distance to us. The Earth is it's got a better chance of being hollow than solid, and all life in this universe works in a vortex. And what you're looking at here is the real truth about what our solar system looks like. We're riding a vortex through space. As to Christopher Columbus discovering America, you know that's a lie. And it looked like the Chinese already had it mapped out before that. In fact, their map was so old, Florida was still all underwater then. Anybody from southern Florida, they know that Florida was underwater. The whole thing is one big flat coral stone. It was 30 feet underwater before. So this flat earth thing, it was just a way of drawing a diagram to connect the magic and how the stars and how the astrology connects. So we're going to find the Big Bear and Little Bear. And that Big Bear is the Big Dipper. And if you get up about 5 o'clock in the morning here in North America, you're gonna see the Big Dipper. And those two stars, if you multiply that distance times 5 between them two stars in that direction, you're going to see the tip of the handle to the Little Bear, to the Little Dipper. And that tip is the North Star. And that star is going to be right there at that point. As the rest of them all rotate around in that circle, that little star stays right there. And if you got a compass, you can point it toward it, and it'll be right there at north. And if you got a sextant, you can find your latitude on a globe, and you can adjust it, and you'll find that whatever your latitude is, wherever you're at, that's going to be the adjustment on the sextant you're looking at. And if you don't have a sextant, you can build one real easy. There's many ways to do it. You can do it with just a stick. There's a scale on the old builder's level that give you the angles there. And this old Egyptian building tool looks suspiciously like this OD from the Emerald tablets. The best way to do it's with that speed square. And this old Celtic cross, you see that circle in there? It used to be a free spinning circle that was weighted on the bottom, and that was an excellent surveying tool. You would put the base on the ground to hold it steady and eyeball up the arms. So the easiest way is probably with this speed square, and everybody's got one. And put you some paint on the points so it's easier to read, and you're going to eyeball up this way at your mark and hang a little plumb bob. Paint your string white so you could see it. If you don't have one, you can go buy one. Get one of the large orange ones. It's easier to see. You can build a Celtic cross out of a stick or a piece of tube and a wheel off a bicycle, and take and weigh that wheel down on one side so it's like a plumb bob. That one side always comes down, and go out to the beach and eyeball out and to the horizon and put your mark for 0 and count the spokes around and divide it into 360, and that's going to tell you how many degrees each spoke is. If you're using this speed square, go ahead and put you some paint on the ends so when you eyeball it, you better see it a little brighter. If you're trying to get a mark on the sun, don't look into the sun. Let it cast a shadow on something so you can see it sighted in the shadow, and then you can read your mark fairly easy. So this is nothing new. The Egyptians were doing this. This is why they kept such good maps of the sky. And you can see here's a 33rd degree mark, and this is how it works. This plumb bob's heading for the center of the earth, and you're looking straight north. Anywhere around the earth, that square is always going to be pointing the same direction, and it's the string that's going to change here. And you can see that 33 degrees there. That goes up through there, Israel, Iraq, Iran. So if you're up there around Canada, you might be reading 45 on there. And that 33 line, that's over there by the Georgia Guidestones, I believe. You might be reading 33 there. And if you get close to that equator, you see that one on the right at 4. It's just above the equator at 4 degrees. And if you go south of the equator, you see where that string doesn't even come across your scale. You can't see it. So if you want to get fancy in this old sextant, it's been around since at least 1200. I've seen it in old books. And you're looking through that tube on the bottom. And what you're doing is you're looking at a little mirror. You're looking at half of this mirror. And the other half, you're going to set it right on the horizon. And so what you're looking at, the scale is at half scale. You'll see that 45 degrees away is 90. And you've got a little shade there. If you're looking at the sun, you leave that shade down and it flips up for when you're looking at stars. And it'll come through the shade, reflect off that mirror, and then onto that lower mirror. And so what you're going to see is somewhat like this picture of the sunrise, except you're going to see the half of the sun. Whatever you're shooting, the star, you're going to see half of it sitting under the water line. And so you're looking through that tube to make sure that it's aligned with the horizon. You move that lever till whatever you're shooting, the sun or the star, is sitting just like that picture except underneath. And then look up at your mark and it'll give you a reading and tell you where it's at. So this is a great tool here, and it was written about in the books of Pliny, so there's no telling how long it's been around. And you'll notice several of those words look very similar to some words that you would see in Revelations in the Greek books. So you would just lay this on a flat table, and you would eyeball up your sights until you seen the North Star, and when you did, you would turn it to 0, and you would adjust that table underneath, and on the bezel it's got markings, and once you got it set for the equator, it'll give you, with one of those small book, it'll tell you where every star and every planet is supposed to be at all times. You can keep up with them real easy with that tool. So Ed Leedscon, and he built this down in Coral Gables, Florida, down there by Homestead. He called it his polar scope. And he cut a hole in a rock, and he set an eyepiece down on the ground so he could watch that North Star at all times. And what he discovered is that North Star rotated just finely around them crosshairs for the seasons. It stayed in a quarter for each season. It would go around, and what he did by that is he proved that the Earth is revolving around the sun, and it's not wobbling on an axis. It's going around the sun, and that's the only distance you see is that fine tuning just around the center. So the most important tool you're going to need for navigation is a watch. And that's due to the Earth spinning. And every time you move 15 degrees to the east, the sunrise is going to come up 1 hour earlier than it did yesterday. And so that time that the sun comes up every morning, that's going to let you know your meridian. It's going to let you know what time zone you're at. So that's going to be those lines running up and down. That's going to let you know how far east to west you're moving. And when you shoot the North Star, it's going to give your latitude. And that's these lines running east to west. And wherever you shoot 22, means you're on the 22nd latitude. And you look at your map, see where the 22nd is. And the time is going to change depending on what meridian you're on or what latitude. So before you leave out, make sure you get a copy of all the sunrise and sunsets for where you're heading. So if you leave out of Virginia and you're heading to Spain, when you get about 4 hours ahead of schedule, when that sun starts coming up at 3 in the morning, round 3, you know you're getting close. And so you check the sunrise in Spain. And if that sun's supposed to rise at 7 o'clock and you're getting it at 7:08, then you know you're just 2 degrees away. Start watching out. So when you get there, that's when you're going to need your compass and your charts. And you're going to see lights flashing. And these charts will tell you what color lights they are and how fast they're flashing. So you'll be able to tell the lights apart. And you just use your compass and shoot a bearing off of 3 of them. And then you move to your chart. And there's a compass rose there. And run your parallel lines off that compass rose to your bearings. And run your 3 lines there, and if the third one crosses exactly where the other 2 crossed, then you're real accurate. And if not, if it just leaves you a small triangle, go ahead and say you're in that dot right there in the middle of that triangle, and that's close enough to keep from running aground. So this is getting long, so I'm going to make this one last rant here. Last year, old BP Fear Watch, he made the claim that God gave him the name of the Antichrist. And then he made the claim that Satan wrote the Old Testament. And he often makes this claim that he's a sailor. And so he's definitely lying on one of those. Because if he had a clue about what the Old Testament says, he would know that it was the God of sailing that wrote it. That's what it's all about there, BP. Oh, Fear Watch. All right, good day, people. God is love. God is light. God is knowledge.